really effectively, and mashallah, and we are now at the end of the training today with the last sessions of the training. We are going to close our program with the mashallah 100% success, uh, and it's my pleasure to say this. It's really it was really fruitful program, and I can see you guys also was happy to participate and be here. um, so today we have two speakers, I think. So I am going to as well inform you at the end of the session too. So I'll be introducing the first speaker. Then after we finish, we will give 1 or 2 minutes of break. Then we will continue with the other speaker because two speaker has different topics. And then I will be yielding the floor to another moderator, and also we will be yielding the floor to another speaker. Um, so let me start briefly introduce Miss Bayan Khaled from Hamad bin Khalifa University. Um, she was now as a working in Hamad bin Khalifa University as a research fellow. Before that, she was a junior account executive in Knowlton Strategies. Before that, she was a video producer in Al Jazeera, and she completed her education in sorry, let me check. I can't see it. She completed her education in University of Western Ontario, and now, as I mentioned before, she's currently working in Hamad bin Khalifa University as a research fellow. Hamad bin Khalifa University as well is a really valuable partner for ICYF. We're implementing a lot of projects with them, and thanks to their efforts and as well their valuable contribution, today we are with Ms. Bayan Khaled, and we are going to listen to her, and we will pay attention to her presentation. So Ms. Bayan Khaled, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And now I'm happy to yield the floor to you for your presentation. You may start. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Mr. Anas. Wow, there's so many of you. Thank you so much for joining. I'm a little nervous, but let's see. Yeah, so I'm Bayan Khaled, as Mr. Anas said, and I'm a Palestinian Canadian, and I'm based in Qatar. So in the beginning, I did my undergraduate degree in business administration in Carnegie Mellon University, and then I went to do my master's in the University of Western Ontario, as Mr. Ennis mentioned, in journalism and communication. So I realized in my undergrad that I wasn't too much passionate, I guess, about the business world and the public relations world, as I was working before in a public relations company. So I wanted to sort of take a different direction. And I'm really passionate about storytelling. And what I mean by storytelling is basically shedding light on important issues happening around the world. And more specifically, I really like to talk about Islamophobia and Muslims, and basically shedding light on the positive side of Islam that not many people get to see, because as you know, in the world, you know, our reputation as Muslims is not that great in some countries. So I want to change the narrative with storytelling. And I like to do that more specifically with videos, which is why I tried to work a little bit in Al Jazeera, and it was so much fun. So here I am now, and mostly I do research about Islam and something. So right now I'm doing about Islam and social media. Sometimes I do research about Islam and the Sustainable Development Goals, and just like anything in relation to Islam, I guess. So I'll share with you now my screen so you can see my presentation. So as I've mentioned, I'm very much into storytelling. So today I'll be sharing some stories about volunteering, as the topic of my presentation is youth volunteering initiatives and stories. So volunteering means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I'll show you a short video of this video I found of what it means to UN volunteers.
I think it means different things to different people, but when I think of volunteerism, I think you're trying to do something good for the community.
Volunteerism is an act of kindness.
Volunteerism is energy. It's both about me giving my extra energy, but it's also about receiving a lot of energy.
I think volunteerism is a duty of a global citizen.
My parents, they are originally refugees from Vietnam. And since I learned about this story and my family's history, I've been dedicated to human rights, and which is also why I think volunteering is so important.
In our generation, we see a lot of things changing, and I decided to be a volunteer because I didn't want to just sit here and look at the change. I wanted to be part of it.
If you look at the statistics, over 1 billion people in the world volunteer in some way. I volunteer because I feel like I want to do my part.
Together, I think the outcome is something amazing because you actually put your heart in it.
Yeah, so basically volunteerism, like I said, it means something different to everyone. And for me personally, volunteerism is a chance to help others as well as yourself. So as a Muslim, the concept of helping others, whether it be in the form of money donation or zakat or sadaqah, or in the form of like actually volunteering, going out there and working with your hands, is very crucial in our religion. So it's always been engraved in us. And it could be in the form of helping elderly, for example, or teaching a child, or so much more. Like, I feel like volunteerism is limitless. You have the opportunity to do so much, basically. And for me personally, as I told you, my dad is, I'm Palestinian originally. So if you're familiar with the Palestinian issue, after the Palestinians were kicked out, a lot of us had to migrate to different countries. So my family side migrated to Lebanon, and my dad grew up in a refugee camp. So my dad was a refugee. And so growing up, my parents, they instilled this idea in us that, Alhamdulillah, like I live in Qatar right now. I didn't live the same life that my father lived. I'm very privileged, and I recognize that. I have a roof on top of my head. I don't have to worry about what I have to eat at night. I'm fully healthy. I can walk, I can talk, I can see, like all these things are blessings that I have, alhamdulillah, that so many people in the world don't have. So my father likes to do sometimes is when we go visit Lebanon or some family in Syria, he takes us to the refugee camp so that we can see the life that we, alhamdulillah, were privileged enough not to live, so that we can remember that not everybody in the world is like us, and we need to help them. Which is why also my dad is involved in a lot of projects as well in refugee camps all over the world to help people who grew up like him. So so just going into the topic of like volunteering being basically in any form, I just wanted to show you another short video.
Volunteerism is the chance to help communities not only with labor but also through emotional relief and spiritual support. Meet Lexter. He was not a part of any large volunteer organization, but he himself was a volunteer in his own little ways. He numerously became a school officer where he willingly gave his time and effort to pursue with projects that benefited both the students and his school. One project he participated on included fundraising activities to aid children with special needs. Together with his family and friends, they had organized several charity works that consisted of feeding programs and donations that was mainly focused for children. Individually, he had joined tree planting activities that would benefit people in the future. He uses his spare time in helping friends and relatives with schoolworks. Whenever he has the knowledge, he is keen to tutor his friends on the lessons they don't understand.
So as you can see from this video, like this one person could do so much. He doesn't someone doesn't necessarily need to be a part of a big organization. Like a lot of people think, oh, like I can only volunteer, or it only counts if I'm part of a big charity organization or volunteering organization. But no, that's not necessarily the case. You can volunteer in so many different ways as an individual. So you can teach little kids or tutor little kids how to speak English, for example. Or you can go to someone who is elderly and can't go grocery shopping, for example, especially during this time, COVID-19, and you can help them with that. So don't limit yourself in what kind of volunteering you can do. So I'd like to talk about this book that, So I'd like to talk about this book. It's called Volunteerism and World Development, Pathway to a New World. And it's by Alan Jedlicka. So basically the author of the book argues that government-controlled establishments are not effective in addressing the social and economic concerns of developing nations and regions, because they're more concerned with organizational survival than with actually helping other people. So the author proposes and develops an alternative solution that relies on volunteer efforts. So he emphasizes that volunteers don't face the same problems that limit them, like these other establishments. These things and factors that influence and corrupt these establishments are not there with volunteers. So they're more successful in directly helping their target audience because these factors like greed, institutional survival, and indifference, like the volunteers don't have that. So in order to encourage the development of a volunteer ethic, the education system needs to foster a commitment of volunteerism in people from a very young age. So the book also goes into how people volunteer and work for nothing because they really want to help other people, not because they want to enhance their careers or maintain the company or whatnot. So that's why volunteers are more committed, they're more interested in actually helping people, and they're more effective. So the combination of educational training and government assistance and a committed management will result in a much more effective aid to developing the third world. So to, I guess, highlight or dive deeper into instilling that volunteer ethic at a younger age, we can look at schools, for example. So there are many different ways that we can do this, and I'll show you a couple of videos as examples of things that you can show your kids to get them used to the idea of helping others and volunteering. I remember in my school, for example, you know, the teachers used to say things like sharing is caring. So for example, if I brought 2 sandwiches with me during lunch and a classmate of mine didn't have anything for lunch, I would, you know, sacrifice one of my sandwiches, not sacrifice, that's a big word, but I would give one of my sandwiches to my friend or my classmate, because the teachers teach us, you know, sharing is caring. So even something as little as that is very important. But more so, like even when I was older, a teenager, you know, we had all these different clubs for volunteering. So they weren't called volunteering clubs, but basically the activities you do as part of the club is considered volunteering. For example, we had a charity club. So what they would do is they would host events in our school or special days in our school to raise money for a certain cause or a certain organization. And then other clubs, for example, I remember this other club, it was basically getting students together to go and walk some dogs or take care of some cats, like once a week, you know, and it's something fun and educational at the same time. And it's like a process of basically teaching or instilling that volunteer ethic from a very young age. So a couple of videos as examples to show your kids here.
How'd you get to Sesame Street? How'd you get to Sesame Street?
Hi, I'm Usher,
Oh, and I was Elmo.
and we're here today to tell you about the word volunteer.
Wait a minute, Mr. Usher. What's a volunteer?
Well, a volunteer is someone who helps without wanting anything back.
Oh, well, are there any volunteers around here?
Absolutely. Take a look up there, Elmo. You see the octopus helping Louise paint the door?
Yeah, we could paint on Louise.
Well, he's doing it without wanting anything back. That makes him a volunteer.
Oh, cool. Well, is there any other volunteer on Sesame Street, Mr. Usher?
Of course there is. Take a look around.
Where?
All right, Elmo, you see the penguin?
Oh, yeah.
Helping Susan with her groceries?
Yeah.
Right up the stairs. Thank you.
Oh.
Well, she's doing it without wanting anything back. She's a volunteer.
Oh. Well, Elmo wants to be a volunteer, too. Oh, how can Elmo help?
Well, I need help saying the word volunteer.
Oh, well, Elmo will help, and Elmo doesn't want anything back.
Okay, my friend, and that makes you a volunteer.
Oh, yay!
So let's say it together.
Okay.
Volunteer.
See how simple the video is? And it's so cute. And it's less than 2 minutes. And it's just little things like that. This is Sesame Street. I'm sure you all know Sesame Street. They teach children through these puppets, and it's so cute. Like, you can easily do that. It doesn't take anything. So just, I guess, showing kids more of those values is important to teach them later on, so that when they become leaders and policymakers, they can make a difference. And even if they don't become leaders and policymakers, as individuals, like that one puppet that was helping the old lady with her groceries, like, it's as simple as that, honestly. So I think to save time, I was going to show you another video, but it's like 5 minutes. But basically, I'll just summarize the video because I don't want to take up too much time. It's also like an animated cartoon for kids. I'll show you a little bit. And it's basically about these two brothers. One of them is you know, he's living his life like selfishly, completely on his own. You know, he doesn't want to help anyone. He doesn't want to get involved with anyone. He just wants to be on his own. And then his other brother is someone who loves to help for nothing. Like, he doesn't expect anything in return. Just like Usher said in the Sesame Street video, he doesn't expect anything in return. So one day they go into the woods and they get lost from each other. So the good brother, he bumps into this old lady who needs help with her groceries or something, and then he helps her. The other brother bumps into the same lady and he doesn't want to help her or anything, so whatever, he just keeps going. And then the bad brother, he bumps into a little child who hurt his leg. So the child is asking for his help, and he says, "No, go away, I don't want to help you." But then the other brother, the good one, bumps into the same child, and then he decides to help him. So it's getting dark at this point, and the child, you know, he goes like, "Oh, thank you so much, like, let me take you, whatever." And he takes him to his family's house. So his family, you know, they're so thankful because this good brother, he helped him out. So they were like, "If you need a place to stay overnight, you can come, we can cook for you, whatever, blah, and you can sleep here and until the morning, and then we'll help you find your way." And then the other brother was left stranded. So at some point he tripped and he hurt himself as well. So then he goes to the old lady and he tells her, "Hey, I'm lost. Can you help me out? I don't know where to go." And she tells him, "Why would I help you? You didn't help me." So then she leaves him. And then he finds the boy again. And then the boy goes like, why should I help you? You didn't help me. So he's lying outside the boy's house and he hears his brother. So he gets so happy that he found his brother, and the brothers reunite. And then the good brother helps him out, and the bad brother realizes why he made such a mistake living his life not helping people. So the good brother didn't expect anything in return, but because he was trying to help people, he got help in return and he got good things as a result. The bad brother didn't. I'm not saying that this is how it's going to be, but you know, if you believe in karma, then this is how it might work. So I'll show you a little bit so you can get an idea.
Only concerned about his happiness and never cared about other people, whereas Chris was generous and kind at heart. He liked to help people. Everyone, including his friends and teachers, appreciated.
So yeah, so a short animation like that will teach kids the value of helping others. Okay, and now I want to show you another video. I promise the videos are going to stop soon. These are just like an introduction to the presentation. But basically, this is a short and simple example of how volunteerism has helped make a difference. This lady founded a volunteering agency called Lighthouse, where working professionals mentor youth. So I'll show you a short clip of one of the stories that she says that happened in her agency. And basically from this story, you can see how one person and like helping one other person can make a huge difference. And if just one person helps another person, imagine what all of us can do together.
One of our bright young Lighthouse mentees actually had a very difficult home environment. She lost her mother very early on, her father abandoned her, and she suffered from some serious health issues. So in her 10th grade exams, right before, her attendance at school dropped so much that her school was concerned that she wouldn't be able to sit for her exams. And it's at that time that the presence of a consistent and reliable adult in her life made all the difference. There was somebody who was able to take her to her exam halls every day, to accompany her for doctor's visits, and even later on to convince her family of the importance of sending her to college. The reason I mention this story is because what the girl needed was something very simple. She needed somebody she could trust, somebody she could look up to, and somebody who would be there for her, no matter what. The girl I speak of did pass her 10th grade exams last year, and she's finished 1 year in a very well-reputed college in Mumbai. And I think it really reminds us that it takes much less than we think for us to step out of our own shoes and really be there for someone.
So you see, like, exactly what she said. You don't need to do something big. You don't need to do something crazy to believe that you're going to make a difference. It could be as simple as just taking a little bit of time out of your day to help someone else. So I want to show you a short clip of, this is the last one, I promise, no more videos. I've always liked growing up, like in classes, I liked the classes where the teachers would show short clips. And I had one class, Introduction to Entrepreneurship in my undergrad. And I didn't really remember much from my undergrad, but this class made a huge difference. And that teacher, all he did was just show us short clips throughout the class, but they were all so inspiring. And notice, the class is called Intro to Entrepreneurship. So you would think that it's all about making a business and a profit and whatever, but all the videos he would show us and all the lessons that we learned from that class were all about social entrepreneurship. So businesses that have made a difference in the world, like positive difference, and helped other people. So I liked his approach, so I'm trying to do that in the presentation. So I'm sorry, last video, and then we'll move on to the actual stories. But basically, this movie is one of my favorite movies. It's old, but it's one of those classics that you need to watch. I watched this movie on a plane ride from Qatar to the USA, and I cried my eyes out. It's such a good movie. I completely recommend you watch. It was actually very embarrassing because the air hostess came up to me and wanted to order, like, see what I wanted for food, but I couldn't order. I was just like, oh my God, no, I can't, I'm sorry. And my friend who was sitting next to me had to take my order for me because I was so emotional, I couldn't breathe. So I think it will have the same effect on you, and I really recommend you watch it. But basically, this movie is about paying it forward. This kid who comes up with an idea of helping 3 people, and those 3 people will each want to help 3 other people, and it'll create a ripple effect or a domino effect, as some people will call it. So here you go, a short like trailer, I guess, for the movie.
This is your assignment. Extra credit, it goes on all year long. Now, wait a minute. What? What's wrong with this? What's the matter? Yes?
It's like so...
So what? There must be a word to finish that sentence. Someone help her?
Weird. Crazy.
Weird. Crazy.
Hard. Bummer.
Bummer. Hard. How about possible? It's possible. The realm of possibility exists where? In each of you. Here. So you can do it.
That's me. That's me. And that's 3 people. And I'm going to help them. But it has to be something really big. Something they can't do by themselves. So I do it for them. Then they do it for 3 other people. That's 9. And I do 3 more.
That's 27, so I'm not really good at math, but it gets big really fast, you know?
Basically, the rest of the video is just the kids telling him, you're being unrealistic, this isn't possible, whatever. But he dreamt and he actually went and did it. And throughout the movie, you can see the effect of what this kid's actions, resulted in. So the idea of paying something forward is basically an act of kindness that creates a ripple effect, which encourages people to be nice to each other. For example, you see someone walking down the street and they drop all their things, and you take like a few seconds out of your day to try to help them with their things. They get inspired, they see, oh, there's good people out there in the world. So then they decide, okay, I'm gonna go, like the next time they see someone who, needs something or wants something or whatever, they help them with it. But volunteering is taking it one step further and actually deciding to dedicate time to help others. For example, saying like, every week I'm going to dedicate 3 hours of my time to go volunteer at a food shelter and, feed the homeless. Or, every month I'm going to go visit a refugee camp and help an elderly lady with her cleaning her house, for example, just like things like that. So I want to move on to the next part of the presentation, which is where the stories begin. And I'd like to introduce this book. You can see it in the presentation, and I also have it here. Same book that my professor from that class I was telling you about made us read. Like, it was reading material for that class. And honestly, I recommend it to you guys. I recommend it to anyone, even if it's not part of the class. I genuinely enjoyed reading this. It's called The Promise of a Pencil. And basically, starting as a kid from an ordinary family that had money, Adam, who is the author of the book, was in college at the time, and he decided to travel the world and ask one child from each country, if you could have anything in the world, what would you want most? And most kids, would say like iPad, PlayStation, phone, whatever. But to his surprise, most, if not all of them, said to dance or for my mom to get better. And one child said a pencil. So he gave that kid a pencil, and he saw his reaction, how excited he was to get something so insignificant to the guy. So he decided after that, the author, Adam, he decided to buy and carry pencils with him and give to children, and just to see how happy they get. So he was inspired by this experience and decided to travel to Cambodia, where he met someone who left the USA to start a charity project. Like, this person was like famous in the USA, but they were like, nope, I'm gonna go to Cambodia and start a project. So Adam volunteered to be a fundraising coordinator for this initiative. And then he got an idea that for his birthday, instead of asking for presents, he would ask for a $10 donation to his party. So that's it. He found his true calling, and he really wanted to take this seriously and help people. But his parents and his peers kept telling him to work in a professional job first for like 20 or 30 years until he made enough money to start a nonprofit like he was dreaming to do. So he decided to take one last backpacking trip before accepting a job at a big popular company. And on his trip, he met a man who asked him to teach him English so he can teach his family, and he agreed. And that's when he realized that charity shouldn't just be about giving money to the poor, but and like creating this cruel cycle of dependence. It should be about enabling them. And that's where this quote that I have on screen comes in. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. I'm sure a lot of people know this quote. Basically, if you give the man the fish, that's it. He relies on it. He depends on it. But if you teach him how to fish, you teach him to become independent so he doesn't have to rely on someone else giving him a fish. And that's what this guy realized. So basically, he wanted to see their reactions, and he wanted to like get that good feeling from helping people. And remember when I said in the beginning, volunteerism is about helping others as well as yourself, because this stuff creates happiness for you. So Adam decided to use his next birthday to raise enough money to build a school. A few weeks later, he filed a form and walked into the bank to create an account for Pencils of Promise, which is his new initiative now, with only $25. So from all his excitement, Adam started working hard and asking for help from his network. For example, he used his network to find a lawyer who will help him with his forms. He contacted a club manager so that he would give him a club for one night for free for his birthday, and in exchange guarantee him that he would have 200 people attend, even though he had no idea how many people would attend. And he asked his friend, who was a videographer, to put together a music video to publicize the party. And he created a Facebook event and made all his friends hosts so that they can invite all their friends. In the end, 400 people showed up, and Adam collected a $20 coverage charge donation at the door. So he raised over $8,000 for his birthday. Like, imagine something so simple, but he made something so big out of it. But what's more important is that people started asking him how they could get involved in Pencils of Promise, or POP. I'll refer to it as POP from now on. So again, all his friends started getting together and offering help. An architect friend, for example, told him that he would help him design the school and construct the school. A consultant told him he would help with planning and management. An investment banker said he would help with the organization's financials and so on. So later he began emailing anyone and everyone who had anything to do with education and charity work, because he wanted to learn more about where to start and how to take this initiative forward. So no one would respond, and they would all say no. And a lot of people will do that to you too. Like, if you have a dream, a lot of people will be like, nah, forget it. But this guy kept going, okay? He never gave up. He continued for weeks until he got a response from a place that built schools, which is exactly what he wanted to do. So they met up, they learned some valuable information, and Adam decided to create an annual event to raise money. In that event, he managed to raise $20,000. And mind you, this is the first time he does anything like this. And he has like little to no experience, and he's so young. He was like 20 something at the time. But he decided to take his youth and his lack of experience to his advantage. He used it in his strategies and his networking and his planning and marketing, which is why the initiative later became very successful. This is all stuff young people do, you know, we're good at that stuff. So Adam began building his first POP school in a country called Laos. And while his friends were in offices, he was carrying bricks and swimming with children and playing in the village. And the people in the village seemed to love what was going on. So even they helped with no cost at all because they were so excited to see something like this. So Adam would also meet with everyone who wanted to volunteer with POP. He began every conversation by asking them, what do you love doing most? And once he got the answer to that question, he found a way for the person to support POP by doing exactly what they were passionate about. So as a result, many people were joining the team to volunteer. So what we learned from this is that it's important to find your passion and integrate it into volunteerism. Just like the examples I showed you before, like a guy who is a banker would offer his help with financials, a guy who's a lawyer would offer his help with, you know, paperwork. So whatever your passion is or whatever you're good at, integrate it into volunteerism somehow.
Ms. Bayan, sorry to interrupt, but we have like 5 or 6 minutes left. So if you would like to take some questions or wrap up the topic quickly, because other speakers are also waiting, I just like to inform you. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, so basically the story is this guy started from like a dream, and then now if you see a Promise of a Pencil, like if you go to their website, they built over 100 schools, over 300 schools, I think, and they build a school every 100 hours, or they get enough money. I'm not sure of the numbers, but they became something big. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to share a personal story and another Islamic story, but I guess we're running out of time, so it's fine if you want to start asking questions.
We can entertain like 2 or 3 questions if it's possible. Is there any questions on the house right now? If you have any questions regarding the topic to Ms. Bayan Khaled, please raise your hand from the Zoom. Then I can recognize you so you can follow up with your questions, dear participants. So if you have any questions to Ms. Bayan Khaled, floor is yours. Any questions? I don't see at the moment. I think there's no. Yes, we have a question from Karim Kabari from Qatar. Please, Karim, you can follow.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the presentation. Besides the video that you shared to spread the awareness of volunteerism between young kids, what kind of activities that can be more attractive for the kids so they can be more engaged in volunteerism? Because as you know, if they started volunteering in a young age, it will be easier to engage them later on. So what kind of activity that can be more attractive for them? Because after we show them the videos, they get more enthusiasm, so can engage them. So we don't want them to lose this feeling of the urge of helping others.
Thank you for your question, Karim, and I'm glad to know that you're from Qatar like me. So basically, you're exactly right. Like a lot of people, will inspire you, they'll show you this video, and then that's it, nothing happens after that. So in order to take this forward, they could do some of the examples that I spoke about that my school used to do. Basically, create like a sort of competition out of it, like if a lot of your friends are joining this thing and you're competing to be the best. In Arabic, I guess you can say, or in the Islamic context, you can say at-tanafus bil khair. So you're competing for good. Then they'll be more excited to do it. The only issue with that is you're sort of incentivizing it, which is besides the point, because you're supposed to be volunteering just for the sake of being a good person. But I guess if they have like a role model to look up to who can always remind them and show them, and like not just a one-time thing. I mean, like constantly having someone there who is in charge of showcasing the importance of volunteerism and the effects of volunteerism, then that's a really good place to start. So having a role model and like creating competitions and little exercises that they can actually put it into practical use.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions on the house towards to Ms. Bayan Khaled? Is there any? Let me see. I don't see at the moment. One last question for Ms. Bayan Khaled, because we're run out of time. It was like during the presentation, I didn't notice that the time was going really fast. It was a really fruitful presentation. Thank you, Ms. Bayan Khaled. And we have a question from Esnaira Salem from Philippines. Please, Ms. Esnaira, you can follow up with your question.
I think you're muted.
1 second, I'm just unmuting her.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam. Now we can hear you, Mr. Esnaira.
Oh, she's muted again.
1 second. What's happening?
I'm reading the comments here. Thank you, everyone, for your kind words.
I think there's a problem with your connection. Yes, Mrs. Snyder. Do you hear us now?
No, it's sorry.
I think you have a problem with the connection. If you can write down your question to the chat as well, I can read it out loud for you. Because we can't hear you at the moment.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Mr. Snyder, you can ask your question towards chat so I can out loud for you. Read it out loud. Because we are running out of time, so we need to have to be really quick. If you can ask your question on the chat, I can read it out loud. Then Ms. Bayan Khaled can answer. Then we'll move on. I think now she just joined with also with the voice. 1 second. Let's try. Mrs. Naira, do you hear us?
Yes, hear me now.
But we can't hear your voice. There's a problem with the technical problem. So I think that's why we can't hear your voice. Okay, that's okay. Due to the technical issue, we had to
Oh, now you're muted, Anas.
yes.
You're muted again.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any questions we can entertain? Then because you couldn't take the last question, is there any questions on the house? I think there's one, or I don't see it. 1 second. I think there's none at the moment. So thank you, Ms. Bayan Khaled, for your beautiful presentation. I wish that we had much more time so we can follow up. and with the details. But I will definitely watch the film that you have recommended, because one of my favorite actors, he's in that movie, and as you have watched the House of Cards from Netflix. He's known as Frank Underwood. I don't recall his name at the moment, but he's one of my
Kevin
favorite.
Spacey.
Yes,
but he
Kevin
has a little bit of an issue right now. Like,
yes, I know, but that doesn't matter. He's a really good actor, and I definitely I'll watch the video. I'll watch the film, and I recommend all of the other participants to watch the film as well. Thank you so much for your valuable contribution to our program. Yes, we have
I think just a question. Someone
really on the
called
chat.
Ali Hassan. Yeah, he's saying, can you share some platform where we can bring our ideas and get guidelines from the experts?
Sure. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not the person to ask, because I don't go through any specific platforms or anything. But in your specific country, it's all about networking, right? So I go through my network, to be honest. So I would ask people like, or on my Instagram, even, like, I would just post it on my story and people would respond to me. So if you do the same, if you just get in contact with the people you know, they will take you somewhere, or they will lead you to someone who will lead you to someone. So that's generally how I do it. And I'm not sure where you live exactly, but maybe if you have more local organizations that could help, then for sure. Oh, they're asking for my okay, I'll write my Instagram handle here.
Okay. Yes, you can follow up. You can follow her social media accounts as well. So we have to now close the session. And as another reminder, we have another session right after this. So we're giving just 1 or 2 minutes of break. Then we will move on with the speaker from Türk Kızılayı, the Red Crescent of Turkey. And I'm yielding the floor to the moderator, Mr. Ahmet Halit Hatip. He's the Director of Foreign Affairs. I guess you guys know him before. So I'm going to yield the floor to him. And that's all from us. Thank you so much. And again, I wish you all the success and best. And with the conclusion of today, inshallah, we're going to close the program. Thank you so much. And bye-bye.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Salam.